Hello, I'm Davina, and hello to all of you bold, beautiful, brilliant, and highly evolved souls. Today, I'm going to talk about the scapegoat and guilt. And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about what a scapegoat is, where that term came from. I'm going to talk a little bit about why scapegoating happens, and then I'm going to go into some of the tactics that narcissists use to make you feel guilty. And if you like these videos, please subscribe or like or comment, because that will help get the video out to more people. So the term scapegoat comes from a long time ago when the Jewish people would have this Day of Atonement where they would put all the sins, symbolically put all the sins of the village or the people onto this goat, and they would send it off. I heard forest, I heard desert, I don't know. Anyway, they send the goat off, and this goat is then abandoned, and I've also heard maybe stoned to death. I don't know, but anyway, it's not a happy ending for this goat. This goat has been symbolically, carries the burden of all the sins, all the guilt of those people. And supposedly, by getting rid of the scapegoat, then all the sins of the people are gone, which of course is not true. But this is how this term started. And yeah, so obviously in a family, in a dysfunctional narcissistic family, a scapegoat is unconsciously selected by the narcissist, and then the rest of the family will go along with it, also unconsciously, mostly. And obviously the scapegoat gets the blame, gets the guilt, because the narcissists are not going to take responsibility for their behaviors. So it's like a reversal. So the person who is actually responsible and guilty, who is the narcissist, puts that blame onto the innocent one, which is the child, the scapegoat, which is probably you watching today. And what this does is it diverts the attention away from the narcissist and away from the family dysfunction and the pain that is there, all the emotional pain that's not being dealt with, and they put it, the attention goes on to the scapegoat. So it's a very convenient way that this dysfunctional family system gets to avoid their own pain. They get to remain in denial and just point the finger at the scapegoat. And the way they do this is through two things, through something called displacement and projection. I think these are like Freudian terms that came up from psychology. You've probably heard of projection, where the person has a feeling or something that they don't want to deal with, and so then they project it onto someone else. Like, even though they're the ones that feel like they're being lazy, they will tell you that you're lazy so that they don't have to deal with that uncomfortable feeling or something that they don't like about themselves or don't want to face in themselves. And displacement is, for example, if let's say the parent is angry about something that's going on at work, but then they come home and then they project that anger onto the child. So that is two ways that the scapegoat gets, again, loaded up with the shame, the guilt, the blame. And why does the narcissist do this? Well, the number one thing is pretty clear. They want to maintain their sense of self, that they are morally good and that they don't do anything wrong. And because they have such a deep subconscious sense of shame, sense of self-loathing, sense of worthlessness that they cannot deal with. They cannot look at that. They cannot tolerate it. So they have to find a way that they can maintain some sort of feeling that they are good. And in fact, it flips over to, I am actually superior. I actually feel deeply inferior, but then that's how you get the sort of grandiosity. And this, of course, minimizes their feelings of guilt and shame. And the other thing, the reason why they do it is for control, which is, the whole basis of narcissistic behaviors. It's all, well, basically it is those two things. It's to maintain their false image, their false sense of self, and to control and manipulate things, people, everything. That way, yeah, they don't have to deal with stuff because they'll just, again, like if they're blaming the scapegoat, then yay, there's a reason. The scapegoat is the problem, and yay, that's all, then they don't have to, it's just a more rigid kind of control that they can, so that their life makes sense, basically. And this is severe psychological abuse. It causes the scapegoat so much pain and suffering, as you already are very well aware of, I'm sure. So again, like a little bit more about the narcissist. The narcissist actually feels like deeply like hurt and betrayed when their child says no, or when their child tries to set a boundary, or when their child is trying to protect themselves in some way, or trying to show their individuality. They're trying to assert themselves. They're trying to express themselves. The narcissist feels like deeply hurt and betrayed by these things, like, how dare you, so the scapegoat is made to feel guilty for causing them pain, which is kind of ridiculous, right? Because they're the ones causing the scapegoat pain, and yet they flip that around and make it seem like the reversal, right? That they are somehow the victim, and the scapegoat is the bad one, the nasty one, the problem one. And this takes me into some of the tactics that the narcissist will use, and that's one of them. It's just victim, playing the victim, like, again, that kind of reversal. And I remember setting, when I finally set boundaries with my mother, her, like I said, my boundary was to, like, I want a deeper connection with you. I want to have conversations that are deeper, more meaningful. I want empathy, compassion, vulnerability. And when she said, no, I don't want to do that, then I said, well, then I'm not going to talk to you for a while. And then she came up with, you hurt me. And I kind of tactfully reminded her that I was the one wanting a deeper relationship, which is a healthy thing. And that's the thing, is that, a child is asking what their boundaries are. They're healthy. They're just, they're expressing a need, and the narcissist will say, well, like, you hurt me, when it's really not that at all. Like, they've totally twisted things to make it seem like you're the bad one, that you're doing something wrong. So know that you are not doing something wrong if you're setting a healthy boundary to protect yourself. Another one is blame shifting. I've talked about this. I think I have a video on this as well. Blame shifting, I'm sure you've heard of, when they will, it's very similar. They take, instead of taking the responsibility, they will make you feel like you're responsible for whatever just happened, yeah, one instance I could see is like a mother, or it was a grandmother with a child, and she had sort of shut the door, and maybe the child was surprised. I don't think she was even really hurt, but she started to cry, and the grandmother just said, "I did nothing." So, I mean, this is to like a baby who wouldn't understand the language, but she would understand the energy behind that. Um, she would understand that, why isn't this person, comforting me when I'm crying, and just saying, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you were surprised when I opened the door or something. So they put the blame on the scapegoat, or on the victim of the abuse. And of course, it can get much worse than that, than, closing a door on someone. They do things they're much more, yeah, anyway, you get the picture. And guilt tripping is also quite similar. It's where it's often when you have spoken up or set a boundary, and then they say, like, I remember, like, I was gonna go and visit my family, and about a week before, I was just experiencing a lot of anxiety. Well, of course I was, because they're dysfunctional, and I was starting to get healthy, so I was like, I don't want to go. And I told them I'm not going to go. And yeah, I got the, well, why aren't you gonna come? And we're just gonna be hanging out, having fun and chatting and stuff, and you should come. And they did this when I said this about my sister's birthday too. It was like, well, it's her birthday, it's her 50th birthday, you gotta come. And I'm like, well, I'm really dealing with a lot of anxiety here. So yeah, they will, make you again feel like you're doing a bad thing by taking care of yourself. So, which of course is never wrong, never. Of course, you're familiar with invalidation, minimizing feelings. They'll say things like, why are you making such a big deal of this? Or you're just getting upset over nothing. Of course, they can get away with anything when they can say things like that, right? And the last one, withholding, and this also includes silent treatment, which I kind of just realized they kind of go together. Withholding love, affection, attention, and silent treatment is withholding conversation. So it's a way of, again, you end up thinking, what did I do? Why aren't they looking at me today? Why aren't they talking to me? How come they're not seeming as affectionate as they sometimes are? And then you start thinking, I did something wrong. So they know what they're doing, they know that you're going to end up feeling this guilt. And yeah, so the scapegoat gets loaded up with a lot of guilt, which is not, it's the toxic kind of guilt. It's not real guilt. It's not the healthy kind of guilt. Guilt is supposed to be like when you notice you've done something wrong and you feel guilty, you notice you've hurt somebody, and then you apologize and you make amends. That's the reason why we have guilt. But in this case, you didn't do anything wrong as a child at all. You were innocent. And I realized another thing is that guilt prevents us from getting angry. It prevents us from expressing our anger. And it's quite obvious, because the narcissist seems like they did nothing wrong, right? That we did something wrong. So then we don't get angry at them. We don't protest anymore. So often we're brainwashed early on in our childhood to think that we're bad, we're wrong, and the narcissist is, beyond reproach, and therefore we stop. I imagine, I don't know what happened to me as a child exactly, but I imagine I imagine I would have fought, for a first maybe couple of years, crying in protest, like, why aren't you paying attention to me? Or like, why aren't you giving me some empathy? Because a child can't say those things. They can just cry. And eventually the child just, takes on that kind of identity, that the shame and the guilt kind of identity. I am bad and I'm wrong. I do bad things. So it's important to be able to find that anger, and it's okay to place the blame where it belongs in your healing journey, however long that takes and however long you feel like you need to turn that blame around and blame them and hold them accountable for what they did to you. So I hope that brought any kind of validation to you or insights today. And yeah, as always, I am sending you so many blessings on your journey of healing and awakening. And I am Davina at Boldness Blooming. Thanks for watching.